What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We've talked a lot about Nintendo in the courtroom. Many cases that we've observed, and some of them come down to Nintendo sending a message. And this time, that was certainly the case, especially after Nintendo was poked constantly over the whole thing. We'll go over exactly what happened here today. Also, we are going to be talking about that RGDS and how it's now up for pre-order. We have the final price and, yes, the final specifications. And we'll also be taking a look at what appears to be Microsoft setting up more remakes. And this, while it still sounds kind of weird, does make sense based on their recent PlayStation announcement. We'll go over all of that here today. So if you guys enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with Fortnite, interestingly enough, but they're doing a collaboration with this mini season for the next month that certainly has turned some heads because it's the Simpsons, but it's not just, oh, it's the Simpsons where there are some skins. There are different characters going into the game, but they've recreated Springfield completely, actually down to some pretty fine details that I was surprised to actually see. But they have a whole trailer here, and that does include the intro being mixed together there with Fortnite. Really cool stuff. But this is a brand new island based on Springfield. It's available for the next month, offering what Epic Games calls a fast-paced, back to basics battle royale experience for up to 80 players. This according to VGC. The new map will be accompanied by a Springfield Battle Pass, which includes numerous rewards, including premium skins such as Homer, Marge, Flanders, and more. So I mean, again, it's what Fortnite does to get more and more people in or to come back to the game. These different collaborations, and they get very creative with some of these IP holders, and this is just the latest instance of that. But I'll admit, even I looked at it and went, maybe I'll reinstall Fortnite just to see what it's like to drop into Springfield with that Fortnite touch to it. Also, it looks like this Silent Hill 2 reveal and even DLC is imminent for the Xbox and other platforms. This we can see over on the ESRB website. Yes, Silent Hill 2 has now been rated for the Xbox Series, and not too surprising. It's been a year now since the game came out, and that being a timed exclusivity thing, I'm sure, in Konami looking to just get Silent Hill 2 out to more and more people, just another platform to release on. And we've heard that Silent Hill 2 has done very well in terms of sales, and they probably want to continue that momentum as they go, and it's just going to be another good release here for the Xbox system. And I'll also be curious if in the, I guess, not necessarily the long run, but here in a bit, maybe Microsoft even strikes a Game Pass deal, as we have seen the Silent Hill 2 game go into PlayStation Plus as well. So it seems like Konami's kind of open to that, but I would say initially they're going to be looking to try to sell some copies on the Xbox first. So I guess keep an eye out for that, and also keep an eye out for the DLC that has been mentioned a couple of times. Seems like it might go well alongside of an Xbox reveal. Oh, and real quick, we do have a sponsor for today's video, that being Satisfye. And this makes it a very easy sponsorship since I've been using the Satisfye grip with the Switch 1 and now into the Switch 2. It definitely solves a major issue with the Switch 2, that being the ergonomics. Pretty easy to install. You just line it up, press your system in. They have this free float technology here. You can see the system isn't scratched as you press down. And once in, you have just much more to hold on to here when playing your game. We have this asymmetric design where on this side it's a little smaller because the stick is up higher. Here though, it's larger so that your thumb will line up better with the offset stick. The back grip is also this nice rubberized texture, so it's very comfortable to hold. Satisfye has engineered this grip to take into account where airflow comes in and out of the Switch 2, so all of that is left uncovered, along with access to your USB ports. You're also able to take 2 different games with you by just using the grip, where it has storage, so you can take this, for example, a Street Fighter, and pop it in there. And with the grip on, the Switch 2 still fits in the dock, so you don't have to think about removing it or putting it back on when you're docking or undocking your system. Now, you may want a casing to go along with your grip, and this is the slim bundle that they have on their website. So inside, nice felt interior, and then on top here we do have a spot for 12 different game cards and a nice deep pouch up here for cables or anything else you want to drop in. It does fit just like that with the grip, so you don't have to remove it when you want to store it. You can just drop it in, zip this up, nice protection on the outside, solid handle, and you're good to go. Click the link down below in the description to learn more about the Satisfye Zen Grip 2, as well as their slim bundle. Now in stock with 3-day shipping options available. Big shout out to Satisfye for sponsoring today's video. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nintendo once again in the courtroom, where they're very comfortable there. We talk about them suing all kinds of people and different companies and trying to shut down emulators and websites. They're there a lot, you know? But there are some cases that pop up where people go, yeah, actually, that kind of makes sense. I get why this is all happening and why Nintendo even feels the need to sue a person, not even necessarily into oblivion, but legitimately like, hey, we're going to send a message because you keep pressing the issue. Okay, so this we can see, this is over on Torrent Freak, who's been covering this for a little while now, as this does date back to 2024, saying Nintendo has secured a final default judgment against Jesse Kean, aka Every Game Guru. Now, they say they sued him back in 2024 after they streamed pirated copies of pre-release games. And look, you're already testing the waters with Nintendo when you get the game early, play it, say, on an emulator. As we know, games would leak all the time for the Switch 1. They haven't run into that with the Switch 2 at this time, but who knows what the future holds there. But people were emulating and streaming these games. The stream would get pulled down, and most of the time people would then move on from that and say, well, there you go. But in this case, it seems like the person kept pushing Nintendo. So in a correspondence with Nintendo's legal team, Kean was initially defiant, but failed to defend the case against him. A Colorado federal court has now ordered the streamer to pay $17,500 in damages, but refused to issue an injunction against unnamed third parties or order the destruction of circumvention devices. Now, I mentioned that this person, Jesse Kean, was very much antagonizing Nintendo. Well, they took to places of social media like Facebook, for example, and posted this gem saying you might run a corporation, but I run the streets. And that was addressing Nintendo's legal team. Okay, the defendant reportedly destroyed evidence and evaded Nintendo's attempts to serve him personally. Anyway, moving on from that though, $17,500 is how much they were ordered to pay in damage. And I will say, based on what we see with some of these court cases with Nintendo at times resulting in millions and millions of dollars, even to individuals where Nintendo will they'll end up having their wages garnished for the rest of their life. Basically, you're paying Nintendo every single time you get a paycheck for the rest of your life. Sometimes just to make a point. Here, though, this is absolutely about the message when it comes down to, again, not like a little bit of money, not necessarily the millions of dollars that Nintendo ends up seeking for a lot of this stuff. In fact, this could have been up to, from what we've seen, roughly $1 million in damages. They end up with $17,500. Now, to go a little further from that, at the same time, the magistrate wrote that 2 of Nintendo's broader requests should be denied. The demand to destroy all circumvention devices was rejected as unclear and unreasonable, as the tools in question are mainly software applications available online. Now, circumvention devices, I guess, could have been this person's Switch 1. Let's say that they are playing it through a hacked Switch and they're downloading the ROM files online, then loading it there. I guess Nintendo wanted that stuff destroyed. I guess the computer in question, that's why it seemed kind of unclear and even unreasonable as to what they were getting at, since software could have been shared between multiple different devices, and then you have to destroy every single device that person has that maybe loaded a ROM file or had the emulator installed. It's just, it's not very practical. And then on top of that, any third-party correspondence, I guess just people that they were talking with or downloading ROM files from. Again, how far does that go? So here, this is just a more narrow scope of you see the person, they've been antagonizing you, you've sent notices, which Nintendo had sent them stuff of, hey, stop streaming pirated games. Hey, really stop streaming pirated games. And the person just kept going and saying, no, I'm not going to stop. I was going to keep streaming these games early. So there you go. Eventually, yes, Nintendo will take you to court, and $17,500. The court system gets very, very expensive. Feels like the whole thing costs more money than that, and you could look at it as a waste of Nintendo's time, but also Nintendo going, look, eventually we're just going to punch back and we'll get the lawyers to do that for us. This is about a message, not necessarily the money that we would collect. So there you go. $17,500 for a person who was prodding Nintendo over and over again about them streaming pirated Switch 1 games. Go figure. Next up, let's talk about that Anbernic RGDS, and there's been some disappointment since the specifications had leaked out a bit early, and even the screen size and resolution, bringing up questions as to how well a DS image is going to scale here. but the pricing was another point of contention because it was over $100, at least from the initial leak and marketing that got out there. Now, though, we do have the official pre-order that's live. We can see this over on Ambernick's website. It is currently coming in with an early bird special of $93.99, and go figure, the normal price was indeed $99.99, kind of like how we figured it would be. It's like a penny below 100, and you can say under $100, officially. Anyway, they do have the black and crimson red, turquoise blue, and polar white. I did order the black and crimson red with no SD card. I have plenty of SD cards, don't need that. And I was looking through this here, right? So we do have the specifications, and those do line up, all right? And that's, again, I know that's a point where people are like, oh, okay, a 640 by 480 display, that is 2.5 times the resolution of the DS normally, okay? Then we have that RK3568 quad-core Cortex A55. That should be good enough for DS games. I mean, there's going to be a couple of 3DS games, not many, that are going to run sketchy even. So this is absolutely a DS first and foremost. And you know what? That's kind of what I was figuring anyway. I didn't necessarily go into this thinking, oh, I am getting a 3DS along with it. While they did show footage of 3DS games, it wasn't many, and they have always kind of shown this as, hey, here is a DS emulation device with 2 screens. Now, they do mention a 4,000 milliamp hour battery with battery life up to 6 hours. If you have the brightness up and everything else, I mean, you can expect, I feel like 4 to 5, that 6 hours is probably best case scenario. I do like the built-in Hall switch chip that they mentioned, so when you close the lid, it'll be able to detect that it is closed, and it will then go into sleep mode. So that is nice, to where you can just kind of close it real quick and you're off and running. That's the idea of the clamshell design. It's always kind of been that way, where it is pick up and play, being able to shut the lid, and it's completely protected with the screens, throw it in a pocket, and you're off and running there. So I am curious how portable this will be. It seems like it's still fairly small based on how they were showing it in the clip of the off-screen footage, but really the DS Lite was like a legendary system for its portability and its durability, along with the battery life. I mean, that was almost like you could look at the DS Lite as maybe the perfect handheld. I mean, all the way around, it didn't even need active cooling, so there's no fan inside that could break or make noise. So that was an awesome system, and it makes sense why you would have Ambernick attempt to recreate it, but there's still a lot of questions around it. Again, I ordered it. They say these should be shipped out and arriving mid-December. They have December 15th listed, but who knows? Shipping and stuff is all over the place right now. And the other part about this, when I ordered it, $94, right? You see that? But then you go to check out, $25 shipping. So it's not actually, $94 or something. It's quite a bit more. So keep that one in mind. If anything, hang out and wait again for independent reviewers to get a look at it, even do teardowns. I'll be doing one of those, and we'll get an idea as to how this Ambernick RGDS really holds up. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft and what sounds like plans for what should be their biggest IP, but it's fallen off pretty badly, that being Halo. Well, with the reveal of Campaign Evolved, it seemed like at least people were talking about it. And it's that Halo just fell to the back completely, to where it wasn't even being mentioned much. But then with Campaign Evolved, it was all over social media. Yes, some complaining, but also some excited for it. I was just happy again to see people talking about the franchise. But now we have a new rumor making the rounds, and it really exploded online, more than I was expecting. But it does kind of make sense, and there is one game in there that people have been calling for some kind of remake for quite some time now. This we can see, and this is quoted by Pure Xbox with Halo Leaks, saying Halo 2 and Halo 3 are being remade. Yes, they will have sprint. No multiplayer, only campaign. Full remakes. Multiplayer is going to be Halo 7. Now, some are going, well, hold on a minute. Why isn't there multiplayer for those games as well, like these remakes? And I mean, it really does come down to Microsoft and Halo Studios, I'm sure, trying to funnel most of the Halo player base into one multiplayer game, really. I know there's discussion around another kind of multiplayer game that's being developed right now, and we may see that here sometime soon, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be the typical multiplayer experience that people would expect with Halo. That would then fall in line with Halo 7. These would again just be campaigns they'd be selling as almost like one-offs, like we're seeing with Campaign Evolved, and you do have multiplayer aspects with co-op, of course, but Halo 2 did already have its remake treatment with the anniversary they did. like that whole thing. And it still looks pretty good visually. The other one though, Halo 3. We have not had a remake for it. That's the game people keep asking for. It's like, hey, we could use a remake for Halo 3. It's a legendary title. I mean, it was incredible stuff back then in 2007 when that game came out, the midnight release. The wrap up with a lot of us were looking at as the trilogy, Halo 1, 2, and 3. It all really fell into place for that release, and the Xbox 360, 2 years out of the gate, was just rolling along. It was an awesome, awesome time. So I think there's also a lot of nostalgia involved for us wanting to see it happen, and maybe that could be a 2027 although they're not really going to go out of order, I assume. Halo 2 would clearly be next up, and that would then follow Halo Campaign Evolved, and if it's not a year, it'd be 2 years out then. That's the thing. It doesn't really fall into any one good spot for Halo 3 unless they just want to try to push that out in 2027 somehow and then go to Halo 2 later. Either way, them doing these campaign remakes and then also putting it on PlayStation makes sense for them to, of course, get a bunch of money out of the PlayStation platform, because this is all new to people who have only been on PlayStation, and it's certainly all new for anyone who wanted to earn trophies in a Halo game. So for now, rumor territory. Wouldn't shock me, though. It would line up with multiple different strategies of introducing this franchise to new people, as well as, yeah, just making money off of remakes. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about something fun in the world of console modding, and that is for the original Xbox. I mean, we're coming up now a year out from the 25th anniversary of the original Xbox, and it's gonna be really fun. I think next year Microsoft do all kinds of stuff, but what if someone decided to just recreate that original prototype from back in the early I think it was like February or March 2000, they showed up, Microsoft did, with this massive metal X. And that was the prototype for the Xbox. Absolutely ridiculous looking back on it versus what we ended up getting that looked more like a traditional box, that you put under your TV. This, you can see this image. Not really something that's going to fit in most entertainment centers. It probably would have weighed a ton, but this is what Microsoft was doing, obviously to catch headlines, and it certainly made an impression on the press and media at that time. But this is really cool. There's a video that was made, you can see. This is from Macho Nacho Productions, where, yeah, he remade it. And it's really, really cool stuff because he shows the process here in the video. Me, a big original Xbox fan, got a kick out of seeing all this come together. It was a lot of work, and it was a collaboration between multiple different people kind of in the modding space here, as well as PCBWay, and again, a whole thing. The part that really got me, where I was like, that's some dedication, the amount of polishing that was involved is what was crazy. I mean, really trying to get that to like a mere finish. I've seen this kind of done before with other much smaller amounts of metal. Yeah, that took some time. That took some time. Still, though, it all works. Even managed to get the disk drive in there, and really, really cool stuff. So if you get a chance, go check out the video. It's fun to see it from start to finish. And apparently he's also been making the rounds to different conventions to show it off. So I guess if he ever makes his way over to the East Coast to too many games and get a chance to check it out and get some pictures. But cool stuff. Definitely go check it out, especially if you remember that prototype original Xbox, big metal X showing up at some of these different events. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. We're asked, do you still have Xbox 360 games on your shelf? 58% say yes, 42% say no. So the Xbox 360 is about to be 20 years old, right? And I'm looking around going, all right, it's old enough almost to the point where I feel like a lot of 360 games, physical games would have cycled out. There's a big push for digital right now. But the fact that I see this poll, and I know the audience here is more plugged in than most, sure. But this audience here is like, yeah, the majority has at least some Xbox 360 games up on the shelf. I think part of that is also that it does work on the Xbox Series X with the disk drive, or Xbox One, right? Or One X. And I am still trying to figure out how Microsoft is going to work that out for next generation, as it kind of seems like they're moving away from physical media at all. So I don't know if they'll allow you to use a Blu-ray drive that you can buy. It's going to be Windows-based, so you feel like you'd be able to do that, but maybe they really are just ready to move on completely, and they're like, look, if that's multiple generations ago now, and we're just kind of leaving it there. But there was a whole story going around about delisted Xbox 360 games showing back up in the digital storefront. Thought that was kind of interesting, but then I realized there was a lot of these weird things going on with like servers and data centers. Amazon's been going through it right now, Microsoft as well. So I almost wonder if that was some kind of error in the database that had those showing up again. Hard to say, but backwards compatibility, still something Microsoft needs to figure out while merging their Windows side and console gaming side together. That's going to be something to see when they're ready to show it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Boss Fight Index Channel saying, remember seeing Mortal Kombat for the first time at a pizza parlor? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Okay, so Mortal Kombat 1, I saw for the first time at a friend's house. They had it on the Sega Genesis. I had a Sega Genesis as well, and I remember I borrowed it, and I thought it was this awesome thing, right? Because we figured out the blood code. Back then, figuring out the blood code was legitimately word of mouth. Someone knew it, and they told it to you on the playground or at school or something, and you had to write it down in a notebook, like the arrows and A and B and whatever, right? And, you figured that out. That was awesome because it unlocked a whole new world for Mortal Kombat. And then from there, I think I'm trying to remember the first Mortal Kombat I think I saw in an arcade was Mortal Kombat 3, because at the mall near me, and the mall's still there, but this is forever ago now, where they had a massive arcade there, which is awesome. And it was like an arcade right outside those big fountains that you could throw like pennies into. It was a pretty cool scene. Definitely one straight out of the early 90s. But there they had Mortal Kombat 3, and I'll never forget, I was walking by, and they had that one person there who's beating everyone, and they know all the fatalities, and they had the Sub-Zero fatality, where they freeze the person, Sub-Zero with no mask on, and he picks them up over his head, rips them apart, and like bones and stuff are flying all over the place, and I'm like this little kid like, yeah, that's awesome. I need to rent that next time. And make sure my parents don't see any of what just happened. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed last week's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you want to check out a longer form interview or podcast that I did with Matt Piscatella over at Circana, just about the gaming industry right now and where exactly we're going in the future with it. I'll leave that in a card right below it. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.